It's all the above, best believe we do it better. I want the fame, the fortune, all the above. I want the checks, the moolah, all the above. From Philadelphia to New York, all the above. Man, tell them other stations they don't do it like us. I want the fame, the fortune, all the above. I want the checks, the moolah, all the above. From Philadelphia to New York, all the above. Man, tell them other stations they don't do it like us. What up?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's your girl, Angel Marie from All the Above, and I am joined here today by music artist and motivational speaker, Big Piph. How are you?
I'm cool. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing great. So first and foremost, we have to jump right into it. Can you let us know what inspired you to pursue a career in music?
Yeah. Probably not wisdom. So I was actually studying mechanical engineering at Stanford University.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then actually getting over my fear of public speaking. I had three big fears: water, talking to attractive ladies, and public speaking. And so getting over my fear of public speaking combined, when I did it the first time, I fell in love with performing, was already in love with hip hop. And so I was in an internship in Toledo with General Motors, and I realized I was going to pursue music as opposed to engineering.
Wow. And the fact that you were afraid of speaking, that was one of your fears. So we're going to get into what even inspired you in motivational speaking. But when it comes to your music, what kind of message do you like to relate through your music? What do you hope your audience gets out of it when they hear Big Piph songs?
Cool. So for me, the artists that always kind of spoke to me most were the ones that I felt like if I met them in person, they would closely resemble who they portrayed in the music, right? So it's like a one-to-one, right? Like Tupac being a great example, right? It just seems like he was who he was, all the different dynamics. So for myself, I just wanted to put myself into music. Overall, I think I'm a pretty positive person who kind of also experiences life. So I just wanted my music to have that range of who I was. And so I never was struck out to be uplifting or positive. It's just if that's me in real life, it's got to show in the music a little bit. But I also want to show the other dynamics and other kind of characteristics too. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I'm sure you're an inspiration to so many people, but when it comes to you, who would you say are some people that played a good role in your influence in music? Who would you say are some of your top icons?
Do they have to be musicians?
No, it could be anybody.
Cool. So my big three from way back teenage years was X, Batman, and Jesus. So all for different reasons. I read the autobiography of Heisman League Shabazz, Malcolm X, around the same time as personal spiritual growth, and then huge Batman and animated series fan. You know what I'm talking about? So all of them kind of combined and have my approach to kind of life shaped by that. So yeah, that is what it is.
Okay, I like your own little personal Avengers situation over here. Now, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Can you tell us about your participation with The Glow with PBS?
Yeah. So it was a one-man show at first. So as I was kind of emerging and growing in the craft, I did this one-man show, which was I called it TED Talk, was a hip-hop concert wrapped in a Spike Lee narrative. And that was a 90-minute interactive hip-hop show, whatever. And then PBS knew about it. And so they wanted to do it from the perspective of me hosting other people, asking about what caused them to have their glow. So it changed from my personal performance to highlighting other Black entrepreneurs and creatives and what they do.
Oh, I love that. And in addition to that, you've also created and launched your own baby. So you created your own programming called the F.A.M Project. So can you tell us about that program and what inspired you to develop that?
Yeah, so I just kind of this thing as I improve and grow in my craft and status, the more I should be able to kind of contribute to others. So I always kind of did community work. I say my work is actually at the mix of hip hop creativity and community activation. And so I was working several different programs and speaking in the hip hop world. And the program was to me to work with students in under-resourced communities, teaching them how to learn. So basically we just work in a project, they get a community partner and they conceive of it and execute it all in 1 week. And so from that, they then had the tools to kind of go out and do that, whether it be community service, philanthropy, entrepreneurship, but now they have a tool set to kind of problem solve and set goals.
Now, you always participate in different talks and workshops, which obviously stems from you being a motivational speaker. What kind of topics do you like to touch on when you go to these events?
Yeah, so that actually, funny enough, came about straight from the music, right? So it was like, because I was doing stuff in the community and I was also rapping, a few first people would just like ask me to come and talk and share my story.
Mhm.
After a while, that kind of just developed into a job. So like my name was like the Hip Hop Adventure, and I come to speak on stuff, anything from like DEI entertainment to like the impact of Black music and particularly hip hop. So it's all still hip hop based. Like I'm actually in Vermont now and about to do 2 workshops with students at Middlebury College around just hip hop creativity and how it can influence your story. So anything from just culture immersion to understanding your own story for improvement to like just the mechanics of hip hop.
That's a lot. And the fact that in the beginning you said that one of your fears was actually speaking, how did you even get into the motivational speaking? What fueled that fire for you when initially you didn't want to talk to nobody?
Not nobody. I'm sorry. Nobody. So it was just kind of like seeing, so when I realized and I got over the fear, and I got over it by actually just hopping in and doing a speak. Like I entered a talent show just to force myself to do it. And so once I realized like the thing that was holding me back was other people's perceptions, then I realized like it was just a fear that didn't deserve that power. And so like once I started growing and realized I did have a story and certain things I could share that impart upon other people, I realized like, oh, okay, I'll do this too. And it's interesting. I always call myself more, it falls in motivational speaking, but I always try to leave tools of like, these are real things you could do. Because a lot of times in motivation, you get amped. But then 10 minutes later, you be back chilling, you know what I'm saying? Don't want to do nothing again. So for me, it's more like, here are these pragmatic tools that far after you forget about me and this talk, you can still use and do. And, you know, I do it overseas as well, what's called like a cultural ambassador, and do that as well.
Shout out to you doing a lot of amazing things out here.
Yeah,
And oh no, go ahead.
no, I said I look good on paper. That's about it, but it's cool.
And in addition to the topic of fear, one of the topics that you do touch on is flipping fear and failure into a competitive advantage. So can you elaborate a little bit on that concept and what that means to you?
For sure. First, shout out to the research. But yeah, so for me, it's the fact of like fear and failure. So they're all just learning curves, right? Like all these items, whether wins, failures, all these things are things you can learn from. And so once you kind of, a lot of it to me is just reframing. So once you see the same way I was saying, what like my being scared to talk on stage was me giving people power over my greatness, then I could reframe that, right? So then I was able to reframe that and say like, oh, okay, they don't deserve this power, therefore I'll be my best self regardless. So it's just kind of like finding these tools. Everybody has their own story. Everybody has things that life threw them off. Everybody has certain fears. Once you identify it and really kind of realize like why it has a hold of you, then you can flip it to your advantage. Because then you're like, oh, okay, cool. But if I do this, it's my advantage. And the thing that I've always found is whenever you go through it in a realistic way, right? A fear that doesn't deserve to be there, you always come out better on the other side. Like vulnerability, a lot of people scared to be vulnerable, but you get to the other side and realize it's a strength. Like it only empowers you. So it's just a method of identifying it and then a process of going through it to basically get greater aspects from the other side.
Yes, that was a whole sermon right there. Now, with you being both a music artist and a speaker, how do you find that healthy balance?
So I don't think about it, right? So I mean, from a time management side, of course, like I do my scheduling and have little tools and tactics. But I mean, I think more so, especially nowadays, like so like the overall basis will tell you like you're this, you're that, you're this, right? So I'm meeting you now, and it's like, oh, she's a dope podcaster, dope interview, but like you're a vast array of things, right? Like there's tons of things you are and what you do. So I don't really think, I know on paper I'll put that down, but I just look at it as like moving along my flow and my path. And it's like, so if this time I happen to be making a song and on stage, and this time I have to be talking to people, or this time I'm actually like, you know, in a food kitchen helping somebody out, to me, that's just all in my flow. And there's all aspects of creativity and community within it.
Oh, that's a good mindset. That's a good concept, actually. Now, there are a lot of things that I'm sure that you have done in your career so far. But out of everything that you have done, what would you say has been your favorite part or the most memorable moment so far? If you could only choose one.
I got you. So It's kind of a cheat code. I actually talk about this in one of my talks. So it's an A and B, but it's really just one. So don't think I'm cheating you.
Okay.
So when I do, like I say, cultural ambassador, I performed in Gambia, and it was a stadium performance in front of 6,000 people, and everybody was like crazy going. You know what I'm saying? It was one of my trips, and I thought that was it, but I was over there doing workshops as well. 2 days later, we did a talk in a school where it was an all-girls school. They're all like orphaned, abandoned by their families, like they just been left by the well or abandoned. And it was at the end of it, just skipping through it, like they were the most engaged students ever. And at the end of it, one of the students stood up and told us, like, us sharing our story gave her further power to share her own. It was just the most humbling and, like, I guess, teacher becoming a student moment, because at the time I was kind of questioning what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And just the fact of, like, here I was in this place with a person whose situation by any retrospect was way worse than mine. She was sharing this with me. And also right before that, she was ultra shy and timid until she repeated the poem of Maya Angelou's Phenomenal Woman. Ooh. And so I saw her become who she was, and she kind of like gave me the encouragement to further continue what I was doing. And that's easily like the best moment I've had in my career.
I love that. See, words of affirmation is like good reassurance that you're doing what you're doing for a good reason.
For sure. And she's like 13, right? You know what I'm saying? As a 13-year-old, I was like,
they don't lie. So that's how you know
exactly. It's I'm like, you be my life coach. You know what I'm talking about? So, yeah.
Now, out of everything that you have going on, what is next for Big Piph? What else can our listeners expect to see and hear from you? Which I'm sure is a lot because you're actually traveling right now. Or whatever it is that you can disclose.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm a self-snitch. So I got it. So like, cool, I think, like on my social media, I'm going to the Philippines and doing like project over there. But the main thing is my project's called Far From Finish, web series and a soundtrack. So I made a scripted 8-episode, 8 to 10 minute series based on aspects of my life. And it has like accompanying 8 songs that fill out the soundtrack. So next thing is just that project, which drops whatever, like in 4 or 5 days. And it comes out over the next like 6 weeks. Yeah,
right
so
around the corner.
Excuse me?
I said right around the corner.
Yeah, so that's it. Far From Finish, the soundtrack and web series.
Wow, well, congratulations to you on that one.
I appreciate it.
And for everybody who do want to stay up to date with everything that you have going on in your world, especially the release of Far From Finish, how can they find you or potentially book you for an event?
Cool, I like that last part. So real easy. Everything's Big Piph, BIGPIPH. And that's, from Instagram to the website. And from that is like, yeah, I'm real easy to find.
There you go. You guys heard it here first. Easy to find. Make sure you stream his music, support, check out his website, all of his information, social media pages, and all of his speaking events. And make sure you book him for your next one as well if you are in need of some motivation. But before we let you all go, make sure you also follow us at _all-of-the-above-1. We are available on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. That is how you stay up to date with everything that is going on with our podcast. And you can also check out our website at www.podcast.com. That is where you get even more information and see exclusive interviews such as this one with Big Piph, as well as a host of many others. And last but not least, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at All of the Above Podcast. That is where you will see a host of interviews such as this as well, and get new notifications when our new interviews go up. But before we go, I want to thank you again so much, Big Piph. This has been a pleasure. You have a lot of amazing things going on. Shout outs to all the things that you're doing, especially with children out here, because a lot of times, especially nowadays in this generation, they need that motivation and someone to help bring positivity back into our community.
Cool. Humble. Thank you. I appreciate you making time. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm your girl, Angel Marie, and we will see you guys next time.
Wednesdays at 7, Angel Marie and Kevin playing the illest records, bringing us back together. Philly is all season, swimming through any weather, leaving the track bleeding, way we pull it together. We applying my pressure. I am your new professor, teaching in some semester. Pay attention to lessons. I like a chili pepper, first shot of